how do we understand autism, and what can society do to make those with autism feel welcome? This is Angel Safe Podcast, and I'm Nancy Smith, and welcome to this episode where we're joined by Kadin McElwain for a talk about autism. Kadin champions people with that complicated disability of autism, and he educates society on how to accept and interact with those people who are on the spectrum.
Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Autism is a complicated disability. Autistic people are just as deserving of respect and human dignity as anybody else. But the problem is that society likes to shut down or shut out people who are different and who communicate in a different way, especially those on the autism spectrum. So Kadin McElwain is an autistic college student, a writer, and activist on a mission to raise much awareness about autism as possible. And during his life, his capabilities were questioned because he had autism. But thanks to a supportive set of parents and a strong work ethic, I love that work ethic, and inspiration and dedication, he proved the naysayers wrong. Kadin was diagnosed with autism when he was 2 years old. So from that age, from his first diagnosis where the doctor said, don't expect much out of him, he has really jumped into life and done some amazing things. So welcome, Kadin. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Nancy.
Yeah, you're making us Tuesday night, making some special time. I know you work 4 jobs to raise money for school.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yeah. But in the meantime, you're doing all of this awareness for autism. I wanted to talk to you. We started talking before we came on about this achievement that you had. One of the biggest achievements in your life so far, and I know that you're going to have even bigger achievements going forward. But is that you received the proclamation in Portage County for Autism Awareness. You're the first person with autism in this country's history to get that proclamation. Could you explain that a little bit?
Well, not the country, although that would be awesome. I would
Maybe
like
the
to
state.
speak in the White House eventually. It was actually in the county.
Okay, the
Portage
county. I read it wrong.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well,
But
I think we're going for big
yeah,
things.
it all started when I was finishing off my sophomore year. I was out and about doing what college students do, not partying, of course, just getting the midnight snack. And I saw a sign for some commissioner, Sabrina Bennett. She was running for re-election, and I saw her number under there, did some Googling on her, gave her a call the following morning, and I asked her, look, what do you do for the county for autism awareness? Or if you're reelected, what do you plan to continue doing? And she said, oh, we have this whole meeting where we dedicate that particularly to Autism Awareness Month. And I told her about my work, and she said, you should come accept the proclamation. And I was like, what? Really? And I was like, okay, I'm totally down. But that was definitely a highlight. It was nice to see those who are neurodivergent on the autism spectrum being represented properly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I have so many questions, and I started asking you 1,000 of them before we even got online. I hope I remember them all. First, we start when you were 2 years old. And your doctor told your parents, don't expect much, just he'll go to tech school, he'll have a skill, but don't expect much from him. And now that's where your parents took off. Tell me a little bit, as much as you can remember from when you were two, but tell me a little bit about your childhood and this kind of support your parents gave you.
Oh, they gave me a lot of support, and they still do to this day. ABA therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, cussing out
Mm.
the teachers at IEP meetings when they wouldn't do their jobs. And one highlight that I have that I'm proud of them for is from when I was in middle school, when my IEP was cut off completely by then because they couldn't tell I was on the autism spectrum. That kind of stunt is illegal for schools to pull in this country. I looked it up once. I asked someone once, and when my parents asked why they did that, they explained they couldn't tell I had autism because my grades were good. And they said they ought to put me in a robotics camp because I was so smart. I mean, that was flattering, but to me, going off topic a bit, the school should have known I was on the autism spectrum, not because of grades. A lot of people with autism get really good grades. They're
Really?
incredibly intelligent, but because of the social anxiety I had and my tendency to keep to myself. So my parents weren't going to tolerate that. So they wrote to every single autism organization in Tennessee, which was where the middle school was in, and a state senator to get that back.
Okay. So I'm going to take just a little step back for those who don't know what an IEP is. What is an IEP? How do you how do your parents get an IEP for you?
It's an individualized education plan. The school determines if such and such student needs it. Say if your child has a disability or different ability, I should say, or if the child has an anger problem or that kind of thing. The
Okay.
school writes up a plan and parents agree to that plan where they get as much accommodations as possible so that the student can have success in their respective education career.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Without telling too much out of camp, my son had an IEP and growing up. He had a dyslexic issue, among and other things, not autistic, but his school tried to not have to, it's expensive. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to pay the money. And we had a similar struggle where it was like beating your head against the wall. It's very frustrating. But I love that your IEP supported you socially as well and recognized the struggles that you were having. Did you have to go and have that IEP reviewed from time to time to see if you were
Mm,
getting everything that you needed?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Mainly because the schools weren't doing their jobs properly. Their solution, particularly in high school, was to put me in a special needs class for credit. At first, I hated it. Looking back at it now, it definitely helped, but they could have done more for the social stuff. Not
Okay.
just for people with autism, but for all students, because
Yeah.
students think they need to engage in drugs and alcohol and bullying and putting people down, when really they just need social skills classes and life skills classes, like how they used to do it, I believe.
Yeah. It's a very good point. Maybe everyone needs those social skills. It's just that you had to have, yeah, who happen to be autistic, and so they gave it to you. But I'm thinking everyone needs it. I agree. Um, I know that in school, there's this inclusion where it concept, and then there's the separation concept where you're in a separate class. I guess it depends on your level uh, of ability. For different people have different autistic kids have different abilities. Is that correct?
Y- Yes, definitely. But I believe that those who are on the lower functioning side have the capability to be on the same team or same class as everyone else. They just need that chance at
Mhm.
society and at life. One day I was watching some YouTube video of a mother who had a child with autism showing how hard it is to calm such child down with autism when they were having a meltdown to help raise that awareness. And all I saw in the comments were these horrible comments saying,
Oh,
that kid needs to be put in a group home. That kid doesn't deserve to be have adulthood. Are you uh, an autistic, Andy? And I responded to a couple of them saying, hi, autistic person here. I'm higher functioning. I'm having a great life. I used to be like that. I need second, third, and fourth chances before turning my life around. This isn't 1955 anymore. Stop living in the past and agree that all people with autism deserve a chance at life. It's that simple.
I love that. We talked about before we got live about you feel that people need training, autistics training or training to sensitize them towards what to do for children. You're not a child anymore, or just regular people in the world. Could you talk of that? I thought you made some great points. Could you talk about that some more?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my opinion, and one of the things I'm advocating for is a mandatory training course on how to treat people with special needs for all faculty, students, and parents in the schools and workplaces before they're even allowed to enroll and get the job. Parents, especially, because it's my belief that everything starts at the home. If a parent teaches the child negative values and meanness and bitterness, and if the parents worship people like Alex Jones or Diddy, or for the purpose of relevance, see, this creator just got exposed for stuff today, which I won't say out of respect. Chris Tyson from Mr. Beast, more likely than not, the child's going to go out and think treating people, not just people on the autism spectrum, but all people, like garbage, and spreading those negative values in society is okay. And it's absurd to me. It truly is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so many things to ask you. I don't know where to start. I want to take just a quick break and to let all of our listeners know that you are on Facebook as Kadin Ronald. So if somebody has a question about autism or wanting support, or a question about I have an autistic person, I don't know what to do. Is it okay if they message you on Facebook, Kadin Ronald?
Absolutely. Definitely message me if you need guidance.
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks. Um, well, I don't let's see. How did you figure out about going to college? You you were told a couple of times to go into a skill a tech college, a tech high school, and not to prep yourself for college. And you must have had to make some early decisions on during high school that you want to go to college, because I know you have to take certain classes. What was your journey like?
Mm, Well, in the sense of high school, I was a good student, A's and B's, apart from math, which I got C, but that's still really good. My parents pushed me as hard as possible because they knew what my capabilities were and they believed in me, and they actually supported me in my collegiate journey while others turned their backs. Then, junior
Okay.
year, COVID happened. Everything was online, as you know. And at
Yeah.
first, I despised online school because I was used to the routine of getting on the bus, cleaning myself, brushing my teeth, and going to school, which is common in people with autism. They're into their routines and can be upset if that's thrown off in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But the more I got into it, the more I learned to love online school because I learned I could concentrate better on it.
Oh,
No need to worry about students harassing you for who you are. No need to worry about the teachers sabotaging your success. It's just you, the computer, and the most
what?
important thing that matters, your academics. And thanks to COVID, I ended up graduating early from high school in my senior year on Valentine's Day, to be exact. I was supposed to graduate in May. And then I got into Lake Erie college as a freshman. At first, I was nervous because, like I said, for routine thing. Then, when my dad took me to the college so I could see what it's like, I learned to love it. And then
Great.
on the first day, I was really into it. I made several connections already. And then in December is when I started my advocacy journey. It
Okay.
started with a class project I did for a leadership class. The assignment was to think of a way to help the community and act upon it. So my group and I set up a GoFundMe for the Autism Society of America. We
Okay.
ended up raising over $1,000 for it and won a contest with it. But
Wow.
I saw with my group, as typical with my generation, the TikTok generation, my group wasn't really into it. They only wanted to do the assignment to get the grade and the prize money we got for the contest. And based on not seeing autism commonly shown on the news, and that, I thought, if no one else is going to take this cause seriously, I might as well do it.
You did. You took it really far. From what I can tell, you've been on how many 49, 50 podcasts trying to talk to people about autism, and what else have you been doing to take that project
Yeah,
further?
over 50 podcasts, maybe 60, counting the ones that are on Spotify, and a few upcoming ones too that are pre-recorded. So most likely by the end of the year, over 100, maybe more. But I've also been planning fundraisers in my community. I actually have one this upcoming Friday I'm doing that combines a fundraiser for one of my favorite organizations in Lake County, the Lake County Special Needs Birthday Club, which I always raise money for with the help of one of my good friends, Treasurer Michael Zurin, who's the treasurer of the county. He's been a really big supporter of mine, and he's helped me out with all my fundraisers thus far. I've been talking with political officials, and recently a cause I've been passionate about is voter registration, which is also going to be a part of the upcoming fundraiser this week.
Well, tell me about voter registration and autism. Are you talking to autistic adults to get them to register to vote, or talk to me about that?
Oh, not necessarily. Hold on. My parents are on me. Gotta come on. I'm on live. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Uh, hey guys, I'm on a meeting right now. I'm on a Zoom thing right now. It's live streaming. It. Right, sorry.
Sorry, maybe they'll go on the live stream. Still,
Yeah, yeah. I told them they should start doing this kind of thing too,
yeah.
so they can get two different perspectives,
Oh,
both the parent
yeah,
of someone with autism who's successful and
yeah.
the advocate. Hopefully, one of these days we could do a joint interview on a platform.
Oh, if they ask
But
them, I would love to do that. Totally talk to them, and I'll bring them on. And I bet you there's a ton of parents that would love to hear how your parents did it, and what were some of the ins and outs, and you know what I mean? Yes, definitely. After this
yeah,
session,
exactly.
yeah.
Going back to the voter registration thing, this year's election has been crazy. So I've been trying to increase the voter registration rate in my county. I've done a voter registration drive in June. We ended up getting 5 new registered voters in the county and 6 new poll workers. But
Ooh.
with this upcoming event, I'm hoping to get 10 more to even out to 15 because this election is one of the most important ones this year. Just look at the state of the country right now. We're more divided than ever. We have people who think trying to assassinate the president of the United States is okay. We have people who bully a presidential candidate out of a race completely. And that kind of thing is not okay. And it's honestly inspired me to start thinking about a potential run for local political office myself because I think it would unite people. I truly do.
Yeah. So, yeah, who now the people that you're registering, who are your target people that you're helping? And I want to say that's awesome. I hope you do look for a local political seat somewhere because I feel like you are making a difference for everyone, not just autistic people, is what I'm my take on some of the things you're saying. But back to the question, who are you helping to register to vote?
Anyone and everyone I can. And
Okay. So you're not just focusing on one group of people like handicapped people or challenged people or autistic people. You're going for the whole group. I gotta
yeah,
hand
pretty
that to
much.
you because you've been separated and specialized out, and here you are seeing everybody as equal, as deserving of your help. Am I see? Because that's what I'm hearing from you, and that sounds pretty cool. That you have developed, and I bet you'd had to put some work into it, a very positive attitude towards people, no matter where they are in life. How do you, it's kind of the golden rule, treat people the way you've been treated, but how do you manage that sometimes when other people haven't treated you so well?
I let the past be past. I've held grudges against people for way too long, and it took me a long time to realize that life's really too short to hold grudges against people.
And it's okay to let it go. If you feel like I'm fine, I can let that past go, and you feel strong and good. You
Yeah,
feel
definitely.
you feel strong within yourself. I think it sounds like some of the upbringing that your parents did, and the right people who were around you, helped you to feel strong within yourself. Or do you think that you've just always been that strong?
Mm, it was definitely my parents who helped make me the strong person I
Mhm.
am today.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say, if you met parents and they have a 2-year-old, just the way you were a 2-year-old, and they find out that their 2-year-old is autistic? What kind of advice would you give them?
I'd say prepare to give your child a chance and push your child as hard as humanly possible because their capabilities are so much more than what most people expect. You just
Yeah,
have to believe in them. And if
yeah,
other people doubt your capabilities or their capabilities, cut them off. Don't give them the time of day because they're the ones that are going to be missing out on an amazing person.
yeah. And we talked a little bit about this. What if you push somebody too far, too beyond what they're capable of doing? Is that is that something to keep an eye on, or do you just kind of go until um, talk to me about that? But the sensitivity of how far to push somebody.
Hmm, I think it should be right in the middle because, of course, you shouldn't push somebody too hard. That's just life. If they'll crash and burn instantly. But the way my parents raised me, pushed me as hard as humanly possible, it was worth it. If anything, I pushed myself too hard
Okay,
sometimes. That's something I've been working on recently.
to not push yourself so hard, or to be kinder to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're a good guy. You're worth feeling good. um, uh, what would you say to an employer who has hired somebody who they just discovered is autistic? What would you say to that employer?
Like the employee told the employer that they were on the autism spectrum, or they found out without the employee's consent.
No, no, they just saw that there was some different behaviors that they weren't used to, or there's some different aspects to this person's behavior. We're not, I think there's a law that you can't ask people about their handicaps. They can only reveal it, what they need. Um, and I don't know if I understand the law totally completely, but there's going to be somebody who's hired somebody who they don't quite know how to work with them. What would you say to them?
I'd say the same thing I'd say to the parents, society as a whole, and the schools. Give such and such person a chance. People with autism get their work done. They're hyper focused, so they're definitely able to get their work done without any distractions. they just have a few kinks to them.
Okay, what kind of kinks? Would Are they all different and individual? You said it was a very complicated disability. It sounds like it's,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
complicated. For me, it's mainly the social stuff, taking things literally, not understanding facial expressions, and some social awareness stuff is stuff I got to work on. But for other people on the spectrum, for those on the higher end, it's what I got, the social stuff mainly, not putting yourself out there, not knowing how to get a boy or girlfriend or that kind of thing. But for those on the lower end of the spectrum, they can't walk, can't talk, can't maintain themselves, and they have to be taking care of the rest of our lives. And it's sad to see. But I think with today's medical technology, we could alter the DNA to make those on the lower end of the autism spectrum on the higher end if we really put in our minds to it and put in the work.
Wow, that would be fantastic. That would absolutely be fantastic. Um, so you had I had found this thing that was either written by you on your website or you wrote it, but Kadin is motivated by helping others, especially those with autism. He feels that autism often gets overlooked. However, there are a number of different bills that are coming up. A lot of work needs to be done. It sounds like you're thinking that bill we're talking about through the House of Congress or the House of Senate. What kind of bills do you think need to be out there to help society accept
Well, there's
autism?
there's a one bill passed already. I think I don't know what it's called. I think it's called the Autism Act bill or Autism Cares. That's what it's called. It was passed recently, and that's really good. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done. For example, one thing I'm advocating for was the job training, which I got went into detail on earlier. And another thing I advocate for is if someone commits a crime against someone with autism, they get 25 to life, depending on the severity of the crime under hate crime laws. Because depending on where that person is on the spectrum, they might not understand the situation entirely. They might not know any better.
So do you think somebody could influence an autistic person to do something that they shouldn't do, but they are believing the person who's telling them? Are autistic people are unduly influenced?
Absolutely. Some people with autism can be unduly influenced by another, especially teachers and their boss, especially in today's corporate society.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So you have a lot of hobbies. Um, you like music, you like politics. Um, Describe some of your favorite hobbies, what you like to do.
You just described the main two, music and politics.
Well, tell me
It's
about music. Do you play an instrument?
yeah, I play guitar, drums, and I sing.
Wow.
I haven't had the time to pick up my guitar recently because I've
Mm.
been working a lot, but I'll definitely be picking it back up again during college.
Do
And
you have,
politics,
yeah,
I've been paying attention to the presidential race particularly.
yeah. That's a pretty chaotic race. There's a lot of issues. Actually, I'm not even sure what the issues are. There's a lot of personality issues that are up. But what what do you think of the presidential race? You talked a little bit about it earlier. You see a lot of bullying going on, and
Yeah, it's absurd. Or like I said, we have someone who tried to assassinate the Republican candidate. We have people who bullied the Democratic candidate out of the race entirely. So now the Democratic Party doesn't have a nominee right now. It's
yeah,
super scary to see where politics has gone.
right. You said you'd like to get into politics. What would you like to do with the politics? What would you like to advocate for? I know I know it'd be autism, but what specifically would you do if you had a political seat somewhere?
Mm, Well, I would focus on unifying people for once. I would crack down on hate groups for one. They might try to pull the First Amendment card, but there's no room for hate anywhere, in my opinion. So I crack down on hate groups, prosecute them under racketeering laws, because that's what those groups are, or in my
Mhm.
opinion. I would focus mainly on autism funding and doing all the things I talked about earlier. And on the sense of other political issues, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because
They
right
come
now I
through.
have some pretty right wing opinions on some of those issues, which I don't want to say out of respect.
Okay. I understand considering where everybody is in this whole room. Just knowing that you're advocating for people to have the best like possible is very cool to hear. Um, you had said to me earlier that you started your studies in college started out to be IT stuff, tech stuff, and but then you switched over to HR stuff, people stuff. Um, Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I started with a technology degree, computer science, but it wasn't really something I was passionate about.
Okay.
I was mainly passionate about music and politics, but you can't really work in those fields as a performer realistically. Politics is promising. Like I said, I'm thinking about running. So PR seemed like the best option for me because I could still work in something I'm passionate about, but do it more realistically.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Do you ever think of studying law? Would
Hmm.
that
Well,
be
I'm gonna be a junior in August, so it's too late to switch the degree now. But
that's
if I could
usually a
go back in
master.
time, law would be a really good option.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll
that's
get my master's in law.
exactly masters. Yeah, yeah. You have to give the mind for it and the memory for it. And um, this is a quote from you. The greatest advice that you could give your younger self is that autism is not a disability, but a different way of thinking. Can you talk about that a little bit?
It's exactly what the quote says. It's not a disability, it's just a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
Today, I watched a clip of Tom Kenny, who voiced SpongeBob, at a press conference saying that the character is on the autism spectrum. And looking at the episodes, it makes sense because he thinks differently than everyone else in the show. Uh, oh,
Well, we
it's
started
exactly
the
what it is.
yeah, we started the podcast talking about autism being a complicated disability, and now you're actually wanting to change, which I agree with, is that it's a different way of thinking. And and autism isn't a new thing. Um, Autism's been around for a long time. You educated me on that. So you had a few people that you said Isaac Newton. Talk to me a little bit about those guys. Men and was it
Yeah,
mostly men? Yeah.
I'll start with Newton. He was on the autism spectrum. He had a routine where he would still teach a class even when the students wouldn't show up. Saturdays and Sundays, most likely, as well. Albert Einstein, he was on the spectrum. He wouldn't go out and socialize, yet he had an incredible mind and way of thinking. Elon
Mhm.
Musk is on the autism spectrum. He has fascinations with things, and he had trouble in school,
Oh, did he?
but he still became one of the biggest tech entrepreneurs in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what would you say? Well, I don't want to pick apart Elon Musk, but when you watch him, do you notice things about him right now, even as an adult, that say, "Oh, he's on the spectrum"? What would those things be? You
Hmm,
said he.
I, well, looking closely, I would say the way his mannerisms and the way he talks sometimes, similar to the way I talk. He has a bit of a stutter, but
Yeah. 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 And if you could sit down with Elon Musk, what would you say to him?
I'd say you are a true inspiration, not because of what you do, but what you've overcome.
Okay. Perfect. Beautiful. Who else is on the spectrum?
Well, there's a rumor that Abe Lincoln might have been on the
Really?
autism spectrum.
What, why? Why would that rumor be? What did people notice?
Hmm, He was socially awkward and he
Mm,
had a routine. But people have said it's not true, but I think it's true. I'd have to watch a few documentaries to see if I noticed anything. But if there was already the first autistic president and we didn't know about it, that would probably be the greatest discovery in US history, in
yeah,
my
would
opinion.
be. Would be. You said you thought Robin Williams had some autistic tendencies. What would those be?
Honestly, his personality overall was so
Mhm.
energetic, it might have been on the high functioning autistic side.
Yeah. His
And his
mind was
ability to come up
really
with
good.
jokes on the spot.
Yeah. And refer back to really incredible details that and put them together in ways like, how did you do that? That um I thought he was brilliant in a lot of ways. But do you find that you're really good at some things that other people are not?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really good at memorizing which song came from which decade, which
Mm,
genre it was, who the writer was, who the producer was, and I could talk for hours about that.
very cool. Very cool. You got to find some buds to hang out with that well, do that love that same very thing. Um, you're you've worked hard. You've worked really, really hard to push yourself beyond people's expectations. And I'm sure that sometimes you have gotten tired or discouraged. How do you manage the discouragement and how do you bring yourself back up?
I don't give those people the time of day. They're the
Okay.
ones who are missing out on an amazing and inspiring person, not me. If they don't accept me for who I am and they don't respect what I'm doing, that's on them.
I like that. That's on them. I could use a dose of that. That's on them. I got good stuff to offer and don't hold me back. But you're an inspiration and I feel like you're constantly inspiring yourself with new ideas. Um which shows um a lot of intelligence and it shows a lot of curiosity about life and a lot of spunk and makes me feel like you would go really far in your life, whichever you chose to do, because you don't take no for an answer and you also are curious about different things. What about the curiosity? I know you like a routine, but your curiosity seems to always move you in a deeper direction or another direction. Let's talk about that. Your flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very much so adventurous and open to trying new things.
Yeah, and that takes courage. But um so when you're so it seems like what would you say to an autistic person who had that I need to do my routine and I can't quite break out of it? What would you say to them or how would you help them?
I would say it's okay. It'll still be there when you get back from doing the new awesome thing.
Okay, very cool. Um, how hard is it for you have four jobs and you're managing them real well. Your very first job, what was that like to
Mm,
interview for the job, get the job, and then train into the job?
Well, the interview was nerve wracking, as it is with most people who start out jobs. But training and everything else, I got right into it. In fact, coming out of high school or early graduation, I was working two jobs at the same time before I started college over at Hardee's and Dunkin'. I had to quit the Dunkin' job because there was a girl who was being extremely toxic to me and ruining the experience for me. But uh, it was still worth it. I still got a lot of money. Ended up raising $5,000 before I entered college.
Wow. That's impressive. Wow. That's great. Um, what are the most important things that you want to get out there? So we have a few people listening to the podcast. What do you want them to know about your life, about other people, all other autistic people's lives?
I would say autism needs to be acknowledged more often than it already does. And if you
Okay.
put the work in, and if we realize we're all the same and we unite for once, the world would be a much better place.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. People are all different. Everyone is different, whether you decide that they have a thing like autism or they're just being themselves and it doesn't quite fit into what everybody else does. There's a tolerance that people can learn to have for each other. Can you speak to what that would take for people to have more tolerance? What do they need to do?
Just do it. It doesn't cost anything to be kind to people. It truly doesn't. You just have to choose to be kind.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I love that. Yeah. Golden rule. Choose to be kind because you want people to be kind to you as well. Um, any other advice?
Keep being positive.
Keeping positive. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, we have covered a lot of topics, and I'm not sure, did we miss any, Kadin, that you want to
Mm,
add?
No, we got them all.
Okay, you've been a wonderful guest. I really appreciate you coming on. And I was serious. If your parents want to come on at any point and we could have the four of us sit here and talk about um, autistic awareness would be really, really wonderful. But I really appreciate you being here and sharing your wealth of information. And I just want to remind people that you could find Kadin on Facebook at Kadin Ronald, and you can ask him questions about autism, and he'll help you out. And you can also reach me at angelscapes.net or Nancy of Angelscapes on Facebook. If you're listening to me now, you're on my Facebook page. And if Kadin can be a resource to you guys, please do reach out to him because that's what he's put himself out there to do, and that's his motivation in life. And it's not that often that we have somebody that's this inspired and this willing to help other people with such a complicated issue such as autism. So I thank everyone for coming on. And I thank you very much, Kadin. So for now, everybody, stay calm, stay safe, and be happy as best as you can. And that's it for now.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.